JJ here from 22 Explosive Hits. I was as a response into a discussion with the Flipside Violent Community with JC. I had mentioned that back in 1992, I actually had the awesome opportunity, didn't realize what the impact would be at the time, to meet and actually chat with Samuel L. Jackson. Just to show off a few things here that I have in my collection. I do have the Spike Lee DVD collection. This has on it Clockers, Jungle Fever, Do the Right Thing, Mo Better Blues, and Crooklyn. At the time, Samuel L. Jackson was working on Jungle Fever. It hadn't come out in the theaters yet at that time when I met him, but he just finished it. He had just gotten out of rehab, and if people know the story at that time of Samuel L. Jackson, he had gotten out of rehab, and then, ironically, in Jungle Fever, he was actually playing a junkie. So I don't know what the kind of challenge that had on him at the time, but that would be really challenging to get out of rehab and then having to play a junkie on screen. Here's also my copy of the 4K release of Do the Right Thing, which is Samuel L. Jackson plays a DJ in this movie, as well as it's a great Spike Lee film about racism and race relations at the time. It was shot live in Brooklyn, in Bed-Stuy. Spike Lee actually wrote a really good book on how the filming went on that movie. I also have Do the Right Thing. I also have the Blu-ray Criterion Collection version, where he has a really good documentary on the making of this movie, and details. Do recommend that you check this one out. Also, to bring it around circle to vinyl, also have Do the Right Thing on vinyl, the soundtrack. This is the Bill Lee. His dad actually did the soundtrack to this movie. Really good jazz. His dad was a jazz artist, so Spike Lee had the advantage by using him to score his films. That he could actually have some really good original jazz music to accompany his movies. If you watch his early stuff from She's Gotta Have It, Jungle Fever, even then expanding into Mo Better Blues, which was about jazz as well. And he used the John Coltrane tune Love Supreme for a whole montage in the end of that movie. One more thing I just wanted to show, Samuel L. Jackson's in this movie as well. My professor who taught me film was the cinematographer for this movie, Larry Banks. He worked with Tupac Shakur, and also Ernest Dickerson directed the movie. That was Spike Lee's cinematographer as well. At my school, Long Island University, Brooklyn, our gym was used as well at that time for shooting Spike Lee's commercials with Nike. I'll put a link to some of those commercials. I believe they're on YouTube. They're quick hits. If anybody wants to check those out, they're really cool. With Michael Jordan, it's all filmed in black and white with his Mars Blackman character saying it's got to be the shoes, it's got to be the shoes. So yes, I took a course for the Spike Lee Film Institute that, for anybody who's been to college, it was a Saturday course. It was done on Saturday mornings so that a lot of the actors and the cinematographers, set designers, he felt that Saturday mornings available. So it was best that we had the course on Saturday morning. But as a college student, he went and partied on a Friday night. I didn't always get out of bed. So on a side note, I regretted that because I missed out on probably even one of the better speeches because I was hungover. Was Robert De Niro spoke to the class, but I did not get to see that because I was hungover and did not show up for class that day. Darn it! I would have had the opportunity to actually say I met Robert De Niro. Heard all the stories from my classmates who actually showed up for that class, but unfortunately I did not make that class. But I did meet Spike Lee. I met his sister, Joie Lee, for actresses. I also met Giancarlo Esposito, who is right now is in The Mandalorian. But he's known for playing the character of Buggin' Out in Do the Right Thing. And what makes that character interesting is that he was European trained, so he was not like that person at all. That was a complete character that he put together for that movie. If people have seen him in his other performances, he's done in other films. He's much more straight-laced, much more refined than the character that he had to play in Do the Right Thing to get the role. So the way the classroom was set up, it was a regular lecture hall, but I think there was only like 20 of us in the class. I think because it was a Saturday class, a lot of people didn't care about meeting stars and turned it down. So I was probably like a lecture hall about 10 feet away from him when he was talking. At that time, I did know him from Coming to America, where his famous line is, "Who the fuck is this asshole?" when Eddie Murphy confronted him to be robbed, and that was filmed in Queens, New York, at a Wendy's that they changed into the McDowell's restaurant for that movie. The one thing profound about meeting Samuel L. Jackson is that he was very engaging, and he was willing to answer any of our questions. He was willing to talk with us, and so it was really engaging. And the one part that sticks out in my mind about meeting Samuel L. Jackson and having that lecture experience, able to do kind of a Q&A with him, because he really didn't have anything planned. He would kind of went with what we had to ask him for the discussion in the class. The one thing I do remember is at that time, and it was real, is that African American black actors were struggling to get real roles. In all the movies that at that time, they were playing drug dealers, gangsters. They were playing all these stereotypical black characters, and they were trying to break out of that. And Spike Lee kind of led that movement at that time to give them more real roles and not give them roles that were, stereotypical. But his take on it was really interesting. Is when all that was going on, his take is that if you're going to pay me and you're going to fly me to Mexico or fly me to Philadelphia, fly me anywhere in the world to play a gangster or play a character like that, he didn't care. As long as you paid him, he would do that. Now, where that fits in now, I think, and this is my theory, is that I think it really played off by his having that attitude, is why so quickly, from that moment, he went on to do Patriot Games, he went on to do Jurassic Park, and then just kind of spiraled for him from there, because I think he wasn't turning down any roles. He was just willing to work, had to feed his family, had to keep things going, wanted to keep his career going, and just took whatever role possible and did at that time. So then that led to Pulp Fiction, and that was only 4 years later from when I met him, that he was in Pulp Fiction, and I was able to tell everybody, hey, I met this guy. Again, I never got his autograph because it was a classroom setting, and we really, didn't really do the autograph thing. I do have Spike Lee's autograph somewhere in a bunch of books that I got at the time. Spike Lee had a store called Spike Lee's Joint. I think it's still available online, but it's no physical presence anymore. You can't really go to the store if you go to Brooklyn anymore. I did see Samuel L. Jackson as well with Spike Lee when I went to get cheesecake at Junior's Cheesecake across the street. Kind of saw him in the distance. Looked like they were having some type of business meeting to discuss probably roles or anything that he was going to be doing at that time. So yeah, he was very approachable, very nice guy. I remember that specifically. He was just very personable, very, very nice, and very blunt about what he thought. He also, if you didn't know this, was the original Fresh Prince of Bel Air, and he went over that whole story with us, that he was in all the original pilots for Fresh Prince of Bel Air. Fresh Prince of Bel Air was originally going to just be a fish out of water type of guy that was going to be just, a gangster or a street person that was moving into Bel Air with a rich family, and how he blended in. But once they got Will Smith on board, because he was so popular as a rap artist, Samuel L. Jackson was out and Will Smith was in. So that's how that all came about. So there's actual footage out there, somewhere on a cutting room floor, with Samuel L. Jackson playing the part in Fresh Prince of Bel Air. So that is also another interesting tidbit that I learned from that meeting with him, that he was actually in the pilot, and he also went over that whole process of what they go through when they do a new TV series, that it doesn't just appear. There's many pilots, there's many test audiences, there's many, crowds. If you get invited to a television show to be in that audience, it's a new show, it may never get aired because of whatever executives decide that they don't want to use that part or use that role. So there you go. For Flipside, there you go. There's my Samuel L. Jackson story. I will be posting this tomorrow as part of my No K-Tell Thursdays that I started on my channel to let people know that I'm more in depth, and I talk about movies, I can talk about vinyl, more than just K-Tel on my channel. K-Tel is my fun nostalgia part, but I also have a lot more depth to me as well. So there's my Samuel Jackson story. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed hearing about Spike Lee 40 Acres and a Mule Film Works. Again, I will post links to some of those quick hit commercials if anybody wants to see them on my channel below in the comments. Again, as I say to everyone, let's bring each other up rather than bring each other down, and have a great day.